Today on the Three Gorillas podcast, the Gorillas review the millions of dollars stolen from Texas due to fraudulent vehicle registrations and its relationship to organized crime and the drug cartels. We're talking the Texas Tag Demic. You have found the Three Gorillas podcast. Listener discretion is advised. And welcome back to the Three Gorillas podcast. My name is Greg Lawson, and as always, I am here with retired Captain Joe Escribano and retired Major Mark Sawa. Together, combined, I think we have over 100-something years of experience, 1,000 maybe years of experience, considering mileage. And we like talking about stuff we have no control over and judging other people. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Texas Tag Demic today, which is roughly encapsulates the debauchery that's been going on in Texas with all of the new buyers, paper tags, temporary tags, and things like that that can be sold fraudulently online and be put on your vehicle and basically turn your vehicle into a ghost vehicle for law enforcement, because when we see the tag and we run the tag, it comes back to nothing, or it comes back to the wrong vehicle or somebody else or whatever. So organized crime people, gangs and so forth, actually use these things to cover over their vehicles that they're transporting, human trafficking. They're doing drug running. They're stealing cars and all kinds of other stuff. So the good thing about this is retired Captain Joe Escribano has been the tip of the spear on this in Texas and has done an incredible amount of helping to organize how to combat this type of crime and also training statewide. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Joe and have him walk us kind of through it, because most of us look at license plates as something boring. It's like, oh God, I'm going to go to license plate training. What are they going to teach me? Well, in this case, they're going to teach you about organized crime, murder, robbery, kidnapping, rape, and all these other things that lead to it. So how are you guys doing, man?
Doing good. Greg. I am very, very good today. And of course, the topic of paper tags hasn't gone away yet. One date that you really have to really look forward to is going to be July 1st, 2025. And I'm going to go into all of that as to why it's so important, because House Bill 718 by Craig Goldman, Representative Craig Goldman, he introduced a bill, and we'll get to that, that eliminates the 5 paper tags that we have dealt with since 2017. And it's going to change the system the way it is into some hard plates. And we'll talk a little bit about that too, and what has transpired.
Why would cops care about this, or citizens even care about any of this? How does that?
I know when I first started the class, I always introduced my classes that you guys aren't really, I know you're coming here to think that you're going to watch paint dry in this class. And basically, you a tag class, that's why nobody, I'm not going to take that class. That's boring. That'd be just like, TCIC, NCIC class. Remember, Mark, back in the day that we did have that class with our favorite guy, which we will not mention. But anyways, not at all. The reason why they would care is because these tags, so to speak, are used to mask movement. And as law enforcement, we know that the first thing that we see, of course, like I have an analyst, and I have to give kudos to my team too. I got a good team at the Clean Air Task Force, the guys that I work with, 3 detectives, 1 analyst. And he always says, you know what? Everybody needs a horse in Texas. And what he's referring to is everybody needs a car. And, you have about 20 million of these things out there. And any given Sunday, you're going to have, people doing transactions, buyer tag, this, that, and the other. And if somebody gets into the system like they did, like we learned in 2017, they can cause havoc, especially for police officers, because now you can mask things. Let me give you an explanation. Back in when we were getting started, we assisted a certain department in the Austin Police Department, I guess. I'll let the cat out of the bag. And they did a fine job. They had a vehicle that they were looking for that so happens that had committed a murder. So the story goes that, the guy was driving a white vehicle and it had a sunroof, and he came up to the light. So the story goes, somebody at the vehicle that was beside him looked at him wrong, typical gangbanger crap. And he went ahead and got the gun and stuck it out and sprayed and prayed. What I mean by spray and pray, he just indiscriminately started cranking rounds, shoots the guy, doesn't shoot the guy that he's looking at, he shoots his wife. She winds up dying. So they were looking for him for murder. And he had a paper tag on the vehicle. Okay. And he obtained it, under bad circumstances, but it showed legitimate, so forth and so on. And we were able to go into the system because we have records of records and assist them with that. You also had, what people don't know, 3 police officers that were, killed in the line of duty that were involved again. And the common denominator was a paper tag. Sergeant Sullivan from Nassau Bay PD, Sergeant, in 2019, I believe she was the first officer in the line of duty that we could find that actually got killed in the process of dealing with somebody with a paper tag. In that case, they were masking a stolen vehicle. The second one was Detective Briscoe from the New Orleans Police Department. A short year later, he was in Houston on vacation when 2 individuals approached him that arrived in a vehicle that had, again, a paper tag, and murdered him in the course of a robbery. The next one was Grand Prairie police officer Cy in 2023, I believe. And he was chasing a vehicle that had a authorized agent tag, and it went ahead and had been used like 200 different times, the same tag all over Dallas and Grand Prairie, and he lost his life. And like this, I can go on and on and on, show you robberies that were committed, people that, in accidents that were hit, that they died, they were killed. You had the people that were doing the scammers. And I know you saw those scammers that would put on machines, on your gas machines, to scam your credit card. And they were masking their movements with tags. We even busted some people, that were working in government. I'm not going to say what agency, and they were involved in this kind of stuff too. And then it went on and on. The FBI got involved, and also the DEA, and the DEA also, they're informants. They would have undercover cops. The cartels would come to them and say, hey, put this on your car. And it was a Texas paper tag that was actually in the system, that they were able to get into the system. Now, this crime wave extended not only in Texas, but in New York. We worked with the 83rd Precinct in New York City, and they even went ahead and put out information that we provided to them so their officers could recognize, because paper tags were just proliferating all through that city, New Jersey, so forth and so on. As a matter of fact, so far as Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, to that point right there, I send it to you, and you're going to probably put it on the site for people to see if they want to. You have approximately 277 news reports, and they're linked in there in the document that I send you, that you can put it up for people to look for themselves. You have 277 reports from media, newspapers, so forth and so on, all on the paper tag, or what one of our detectives went ahead and coined. He coined it, which was Mike Bradburn. He said it was the Texas Tandemic. But then you go to NBC5, in Fort Worth, and they have Paper Tag Nation and just KXAN. All these news outlets were, and even in Houston, were bringing all this stuff up on how bad this was. And of course, for us in earnest, again, this started in 2018. We because we found a loophole initially. I went to Dallas first, and they had a task force up there, and it was fully functional, fully funded by the state of Texas initially. They had like 8 detectives, and then they had like 2 on roads. They had a nondescript building there that all these the funds that they were getting from registrations were paying for this, and they were the leaders. And they had another unit in Houston, very, very smaller one, but we went up there to find out what was going on. And I was shocked when I got there. They told us, hey, look, these tags are coming. We get them off the streets every day. We don't know what's going on. We're jumping in there. Inspection stations are doing, a bunch of stuff too, and they've gotten into these systems. And they took us on several undercover buys. They took us on. They had also a DA attached to their unit, which was fantastic to help them. And we went on several operations that they took SWAT teams. And you go like, SWAT teams, tags, what is this? Well, they would get a station, inspection station. They would be selling tags out of it, and they would be going into the system. They would be doing false inspections, giving you your tags, and at the same time, selling you your fentanyl or your dope, whatever, as you drove through, kind of like Walmart. And it was run by gangbangers, and they were strapped, meaning that they had weapons. And they took us on several of those. We ran some search warrants. We stayed there with them for like 3 days. And it was just eye-opening, what I found out when I saw that. And he says, it's coming. It's coming to Austin. You're going to see it. And of course, I'm going like, maybe, maybe not. But it was just completely shocking to me as we went along and started doing that, because then it came to Austin. We went ahead and found some loopholes in the system. And we, of course, informed the DMV about it in 2018. But it took us all the way to 2025. And I'm going to talk about different phases of it. The border, you had cartels running tags. Kings Ranch Autoland was the first one that we ran across in 2019. And we're talking about we thought they were big. They produced about, 90,000 paper tags that they sold and put it in the system, and they were in TLETs. But you look at that on money, they're selling for $100. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars of it. In 1 year alone, in 2022, I believe the amount was like $65 million that we tagged to these false or fronts that they had. It got so bad that in New York City, they had the guys over there we were working with said that they had a storefront selling tags. A storefront selling tags.
Wow.
With the FBI tracked, the sale of tags to make sure, you understand the scope of this, because this is not just some kid coming up to a machine, putting it on your car. It wasn't that at all. And law enforcement pretty much was in the dark. They didn't know about, you have 5 different tags. You don't know that they're selling them. Well, you know that they're selling them on the internet, because you can go on the internet right now and buy really false ones, but it's a piece of paper. And you have 20,000 dealers out there that you have to monitor. And logistically, for the Texas DMV initially, that was a big task to monitor these people. They weren't fingerprinted. They could get in there and get a license very easily. They've since adjusted all this. But it's taken us this long, legislation, changing, tampering with a governmental record, and doing all these things to take us to July 1st. Now they're switching from 5 paper tags to 4 metal ones. The jury's out on that. I thought initially when we passed the bill back in 2023 that they were going to eliminate this, and all we were going to see was the general issue and the dealer metal tag. But that was not the case. You have 4 more, and now law enforcement, you saw in the class that you took with me that learning just the 5 tags was something that was like Chinese. I would go to teach the class for the last 3 or 4 years. And the first question I would always ask the class is, hey, do you know that there's countermeasures built into this thing? Do you know the difference between a dealer authorized agent tag and a buyer tag? And everybody would look at you like the deer in the headlights. But it's like everything in law enforcement, right?
When I came to your class, you were at Lakeway, and it was right down the street from my office. And I thought, I'm going to go to Joe's class. Oh, geez. He's teaching license plates. I don't want to do this, man. But I want to see Joe, and let's go see what he's doing. I don't know what he's doing. So I go to this class. We see each other. I sit down. And the next, 6 hours, I was like, what? This is the key to getting into organized crime. If you can use anything as a pretextual stop to conduct an investigation, this is it. Because on that day, like you said, I was expecting paint drying, but the videos you were showing, the connections between organized crime, cartels, and just the generalized debauchery being stolen from the state of Texas, like you said, millions of dollars in this. And then I of course saw some of your some of the news stories that they did on you, and also that they did on, I guess it's the DMV, right? And the DMV was like, yeah, we can't do anything about this because to fix our system it cost about $2 million. And I was doing the numbers, and it's like, well, you lost 25 million. What are you talking about, you idiot? You just lost 25 million. If you would have dug in someplace, spent that 2 million to update it, then you would have been okay. But
the other thing too is that when we're talking about money, if you look at, for example, 1 year alone, we had our analysts look, your average registration is about $118. It fluctuates 75, 100, but average $118. If you look at that and the tags that were sold, okay, in 1 year alone, the state of Texas lost $150 million. Counties did. And that was money that goes to our infrastructure, $150 million in 1 year. Now think, we've been doing this and we just discovered it in 2017, or we, started getting onto it. How long before that it was going on?
Right.
We think that we know why this thing, it's like everything else. There's always a catalyst to something. When we turned around, and everybody remembers that we went from having an inspection sticker and having a registration sticker. Remember, we had two? Well, when that changed in 2013, 2014, okay, now you had to have an inspection on your car before they would give you your registration. Before, you could get your registration and then just go ahead and look. If you had like an 8, you could go ahead and change that, or put a little number there with a magic marker and hope that the popo didn't notice when you're going with your false inspection sticker, because nobody could, it was there. But now you couldn't do that. So what did that do? It opened a brand new market, so to speak. Hey, let's just start putting these tags on there, and I don't have to worry about inspection, because I can't get my car inspected. It's a piece of garbage. And it's just going to go, I'm just going to do whatever I want to do. So it opens up, and then organized crime jumps in their opportunity to start making some real money, okay? Real money. And then if you put the math to it, I want you to understand that the total created tags in 2021, 30%, once we pulled all the numbers, 36% were made by these people that we were investigating. 36% in 1 year were made by the people who were made. This has since stopped, but it was just astounding that this went on this long. So, anyways, it was astounding.
And I know you've been working on this a long time, and also have you've spearheaded a lot of the change. You lit the fire. Let's put it that way. I should say you lit the fire. And got this thing going. One of the coolest ones, I turned on the news one day, and you're on the news, and you're serving a warrant for a governmental agency.
Search warrant. Yeah. That's not one of my proudest moments. I'll be honest with you. I had many sleepless nights, and it was heartbreaking for me, because it was just like and I've got all the proof. I mean, I've got email after email. I got my files of files showing, hey, we need this, we need that. And we were getting blocked. So when that happened and we served the search warrant, I remember serving the search warrant. And of course, the Attorney General got involved, and they went and said, hey, no problem. We'll give you this information. Can you give them till the next day to get all this information for you? And I said, sure. I've only waited like 3 years for it, so I can wait another day. And after that, I was contacted by the FBI. And at that point, I'm thinking, okay, they're fixing to hang me, because now the FBI is calling me, and I'm thinking, man, I'm not going to do well in prison. Well, they contacted me to help me. And they were the only ones that really stepped up to the plate on that portion to help to get this thing curtailed, because you know how it is. Their system, it's like everything else. Look what's going on right now in the real world around us. Look at Dodge. I mean, they have found trillions of dollars going out the door in a system that nobody was monitoring, correct? I mean, we've seen that. This is fact. I'm not being political. That's just reality. They're going in there and filing all this waste, okay? We know that state systems, and Texas is no different. I'm telling you right now, and I have the proof to tell you, to prove to you that the system is hacked. It gets hacked, and they need to address that. And they've addressed it up to a certain point, but these systems are antiquated. A lot of them are. And you have to stay on top of that. The military, I know for a fact, and the FBI has a huge cybersecurity deal, but local law enforcement, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, how many people did we have working cybersecurity actually going after these criminals online, Mark? How many people did we have dedicated?
Not many, and that's where the ball got dropped on this whole dealer plate thing, is because officers were so untrained, you know, in the vein of out of sight, out of mind. When you're not, when you don't have this giant volume of cases flowing into the criminal justice system, then there's the perception that it's not occurring because it's not happening. And officers were so untrained regarding the nuance of this law enforcement. That's the whole reason that this was able to promulgate from day one, basically, because these guys could drive right under the nose of law enforcement day in and day out because they didn't know what they were looking at. And again, when you try to drill down to why did it happen, you know, when training academy instructors and those that are responsible to train police officers are in a training academy, they're not out on the road making traffic stops. Although some of them have some frequency, you know, there's some contemporary aspects of their involvement on the street. They're not on the street, so they lose that need, you know, so they're not training officers to that. And then it goes on and on and on. And we all know, as everybody knows, time goes by in a blink of an eye. And so all of a sudden you have this giant gap between, you know, what officers are trained to do and what they're not trained to do. And that's where I see one of the major problems in this. Is it not only in the balls being dropped through the state of Texas, but also the balls being dropped on our level, because really not knowing where the need was. And that's where, you know, Greg described you as the tip of the spear. No greater description of that is there, Joe, because you were literally at the tip of the spear. And I wonder what would have happened to the overall initiative had you not been there to take the leadership role, because you did.
It would have continued the way. Yeah, it would have continued the way it was continuing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. You know, I was thinking, as far as just my experience, we worked a case. I was working patrol, and this was a while back, and it was Father's Day, and there was a man that he had his daughter over at his house. The daughter was, I think, maybe 13, and mom had dropped him up. They were split up, and so it was Father's Day, and so he's getting the kid, and mom drops the kid off. So dad and the kid are at the house, and dad looks around and is like, I don't have any cigarettes. I'm going to run up to the convenience store real quick and get some cigarettes. So he jumps on his motorcycle, and he leaves the house, and he gets out there on 71. And he's heading north, and he's cruising along. And this is in the middle of the day. A deer runs out in front of him and jumps at the last minute and strips him off his motorcycle. Doesn't even hit the motorcycle. Strips him off the motorcycle, and him and the deer end up in the street spinning down the road. A black Ford F-150 runs over them both. And it was bad. This crime scene, this accident scene was probably, I'm going to say 100 yards long, maybe, of
I
just
got
nothing
one just
but,
like that, but yeah. Ooh.
nothing but pieces of him and pieces of the deer and pieces of the motorcycle. And I get there. The witness says that the black Ford F-150 runs over them. The motorcycle continues on like a quarter mile on just driving by itself. And it ends up hitting a guardrail and crashing way down there. The truck stops and the guy gets out and looks and then gets back in the truck and drives off. The witness, the only thing they could tell us, paper tags on the truck.
Wow.
This case was never solved. Now, here's the deal. What that guy in the Ford F-150 did was an accident. He wouldn't have gotten in any trouble. But was he illegally here in the United States? Or was he doing some other criminal activity that, either drinking or his Father's Day or whatever was going on? But it was a ghost truck. We ran that, well, actually, we didn't even run it because they couldn't see the paper tag because the lettering was so small.
We just recently went ahead and helped a certain office that me and Mark used to work for, and you did too. And they were looking for a really horrible child rapist. And all they had was, they knew he was using a paper tag. Okay. And this happened recently, last year, I think. And we just got him. We went ahead and went to all our files because we are, again, our analyst, which he's great, keeps files of files of files. You talk to this guy and like you ask him a question, make sure you bring your coffee, make sure you bring your recliner because you're going to be there. He's going to explain to you how it was made and the materials that they used. So he found, just on the make and the color, he found the paper tag. Now, based on that, he had parameters of where this guy might have lived, because we have access to that now. Law enforcement does, thanks to the search warrant, by the way. So we have access to that, and we were able to pinpoint. As a matter of fact, my analyst got an attaboy from the detective, which was fantastic because, analysts are always, they keep them in like a mushroom in the dark, feeding the manure. And it's just kind of like, it was a great thing. Like this, I can show you case after case, robberies. I can show you the guys that were hitting I-35 and ripping off the Walmarts. They would just walk in blazingly. I have bolos of them grabbing crap and putting it in a car and leaving. Ulta is getting hit all the time. And we have case after case where they're using what? Paper tags to put on the car. So it's just, a proliferation. Now, if they go to metal, okay, let's be fair. If they go to metal, now July 1st, remember, paper tags are good for 60 days. So if I issue you one, let's say at the last day of June, it's going to be good for 60 days. So we still should see paper tags through through July and August. The end of August, 1st of September, you should never see them again. But this is the caveat. 144-hour permits, not to be confused with tags, are still going to be in play. So you're still going to see a couple of types of those, and you're going to see a couple of types of other ones. What you're not going to see anymore is just the regular plates. But this in itself, Mark, is confusing because you look at that right there is going to go away, but still you're going to have that metal plate, but you're going to eliminate all the other ones. My point here is that I can ask any officer, even right now, even after all this has occurred, even after the hundreds of NBC and all these other people, putting this information out, you go to any department and ask somebody, hey, what's the difference between a dealer authorized agent tag and a buyer's tag? And a lot of people are going to be confused. Even now, I get calls all the time. Hey, I ran this dealer authorized agent tag. I got no information on it. I just got the dealer. Yeah, well, that's how it's designed. Again, they don't teach it. You're not going to know it. Now, let's fast forward. So now we're going from the tags into this other realm. Do they know about this and the difference between the two? I'm telling you right now, they don't. They're not prepared for it, in my opinion. And also, just to give you an example
Definitely.
of how big this is, how big it is, we went ahead along, well, I won't tell you my sources, I can't, but they ran a check on IP addresses. You guys know what internet protocol is. It's an IP address that right now my computer has, and everybody else's, Mark, yours too, because you're sitting in some place, and I'm in a brick and mortar. We ran, and it runs through like South America, Venezuela, producing paper tags, Texas paper tags, West Africa, Europe, England, of course, the Soviet Union. It goes Hawaii, Canada, and I've got these little dots on this graph that I can't show you, okay? Because that was, information that we were developing because we're working the cases. But we had a guy that was, talking directly to Colombia that we went ahead and popped on another bust that we did, because we've done a lot of busts. I can talk to you about those, that his people were coming in and out of his house buying tags, and it was beside, in the same street as a police department north, literally. And the people called the police department, said, hey, something's going on there. We think they're selling drugs. And of course, everybody, Mark, you get those calls and you're going to really bust the door to go solve it. You send it to narcotics, and narcotics does what with it? Yeah, we'll get to it when we get to it. And pretty much when we did the bust on this guy, because it led it to, the buy list to him, he was sending all his money to a bank in Colombia. So again, this is huge. It's huge, but it's the unknown story. The news media put it out. A lot of people know about it, kind of, sort of. But now we're going from this, again, to the hard plate, and that's going to be the key right there. Just so you'll know, Travis County lost a lot of money in their registrations alone. They lost a ton of money on their registrations in just 1 year alone. So, you have to look at the impact that this has on your local governments too. It's not just that, paper tax. No, it was more than that.
So let me give you an example. Greg, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so when I got in this business, the DWI had just changed, Joe. You said that it was just a one-page report. It wasn't when I got in here. It wasn't when Greg got here. We came just right on the end of the DIC 23, the DIC 24, where all the procedures had changed. And that mattered to a lot of people, because there's no one. I mean, I would dare to say, I couldn't find a person, maybe in this country, but definitely in the state of Texas, that's over 21 years old that does not know somebody personally that's been killed by a DWI.
Sure.
There's not one person over 21 that does not know someone personally where they knew each other's name and can have a conversation with one another that's not been killed by a DWI.
Dan Richards.
So, well, I mean, I could name 36 people that I knew personally that were killed by DWIs.
Terrible.
In my life. So it matters. So the county attorney's office says, hey, this is how we want this case to be filed. It wasn't the state of Texas. It wasn't T-Close then. It was the county attorney. Then the family violence rules changed, and all of the preferably arrest type situations in family violence. The county attorney's office said, here, we're going to train you how to file a proper case, because we don't want to lose these cases. So this is where governmental entities take interest and say, we're going to ensure that officers are trained. So you just mentioned these plates. It has a county-wide interest. But who cares?
Right.
Who cares?
And it impacts you and me and everybody else. If you're a cop on the street, you need to know this. And the reason why you need to know the old tags that are fixing to go away is because you're going to see them. And what are you going to do? Oh, I don't know. A lot of officers, and you get this return all the time, no record RTS database. We get it all the time. You run on your computer a plate or a tag, and you get no record RTS database. I have taught officers, hey, do you realize that there's case law? And Mark, you teach use of force, and nobody touches you on use of force. I'll say that right now. Hands down, you're the man. And you can tell me case law after case, because I know I've talked to you and you just leave my head spinning because of all the case law that you throw out, and you know it verbatim, which is just really amazing. But it's a good thing because you know that you have studied it and that's your thing. Officers, again, don't know that. Okay. They don't know the case law like you know it. And you have to teach them certain things or they're not going to do it. They're fixing to face something, in my opinion, right now, come July 1st, that it's going to be a little bit on the chaotic side. That's what I'm predicting because they don't know tags as it is right now.
Right.
So you're expecting them. Oh, by the way, they put out a PowerPoint on it, and I've already seen their PowerPoint, and it's a good PowerPoint. I'm not docking them for that.
Who's they?
The Texas Department of Motor Vehicles put out a PowerPoint, and I have it, and I looked at it, and I went ahead and I taught a class, my last tag class. I was hoping I was never going to have to teach it again, but they reeled me in to go teach it, and I incorporated some of those slides and some of the not the slides, but the information in there, and I adapted it to law enforcement. Like, hey, Mark, if you see a 30-day plate, this is what you do when you run it, and this is what you're looking for. Their PowerPoint doesn't do that. They give you, oh, yeah, this is the crime that you can probably charge them with, but they don't give you examples, and you know how we are. We need examples of what I'm looking at, and you just don't have that element in there. But you are right. This is going to be something that I think is going to be pretty tough.
Well, Mark, I mean, you posed a question that is, I think, on everybody's mind. It's like, okay, who cares? The administration of the state of Texas loses $30 million. It's like pretend money. It doesn't register.
Exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't register with anybody.
Yeah.
But with the deputy in a car, knowing this information is crucial to not getting shot, to following up on human trafficking, to following up on. I worked it ended up getting into a real big case out of Houston, and the Nickel Boys out of Fifth Ward out of Houston. Their gang is so big that they support each other while they're in jail. And the stuff that they do is all pretty much property crime. So what they do is they steal a car in Houston. They throw a paper plate on it, and then they head down I-10 and they hit Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue at 5 o'clock in the morning when, the meat is just in there smoking, back when they were not open 24 hours. Go in there, break into their safe. They would do Fresh Plus, grocery stores. They would do, to get all their stuff, they would stop at a Lowe's or a Home Depot and go in there and just steal all the tools that they needed to break into these these restaurants and these grocery stores. And then they would hit San Antonio and hit all of the mom and pop compounding pharmacies. And, when you look at a pharmacy, most pharmacies have big doors with some metal grates on them and they lock them up. Well, if those pharmacies are in a strip center, Mr. Gaddy's next door doesn't have all that stuff. So you break into Mr. Gaddy's and you use your sledgehammer and just go straight through the wall. And the videos I got on these investigations, it literally looked like it was Keystone Cops meets Mission Impossible. Everybody had a job, but everybody's running into each other and they're going really fast.
Of course.
They're getting out in 3 minutes. One person is going to the wall of all the pharmaceuticals and getting certain letters off because a lot of the drugs that they sell in Houston are for medical purposes, not just fun drugs. So we're looking at stuff that treats AIDS is huge in Houston as far as the black market goes. And so they would do that, and they would hit multiple compounding pharmacies in San Antonio, come up, hit a couple in Austin, Pflugerville, and then they would head back and be back in Houston by 5 o'clock in the morning, having all their stuff done, and they just disperse. Well, the feds were involved and Houston PD were involved. Ended up being a big RICO case, and you could watch on video all these people getting ready in Houston putting paper tags on and on these stolen cars and getting out of there. So it's not just some sort of administrative goofy nerd thing that we need to stop these paper tags. No, man, this is tied into huge crime.
It sure is. And then if you just stopped at the danger to police officers making traffic stops, if you just that in and of itself justifies beyond justification, ensuring that these officers are properly trained on how to read these plates.
Yeah, and the victims too. I mean, you have a lot of people, a lot of civilians being hurt, a lot of people being hurt by this. You know, okay, yeah, you have the monetary, they're losing money, they can't find, like, you know, Ulta. I can't tell you how many bolos I've seen from Round Rock, from Pflugerville, from Austin, of Ulta, people rolling up there with a paper tag, going in there, grabbing something, and then leaving. And they've done it all over the place. And this is, you know, a continued thing because they have to mask their movement. So learning this stuff, and one of the questions a lot of people asked me when I was teaching this, when I first started the curriculum, was, hey, are you going to teach this? You know, this would be something that should be taught on academy level, stuff like that, you know, or, you know, of course, that TCOL, you know, mandates or what, and that's fine. I really didn't care. My information, every time I went and taught this, it's free. I went all over the place. We were teaching this for free. We weren't charging a department a dime. Now, every once in a while, when it's way out there, we ask, hey, get us a hotel so we can at least, you know, put our head down and keep our car there where it's not going to be on blocks the next morning, so we can go ahead and teach. That's true. Teach the class. And
when you say we, you mean by the grace of constable suits in precinct 3.
It was the grace of constable suit. He would let me go and teach these classes. We didn't charge anybody anything because we were trying to put the information out and get a foothold so people could start paying attention to this. Of course, you know, I taught the class 1 year. I think I taught it like 40, 50 times. I got all my records and it still wasn't enough. I still had people contacting me. I had people contacting me from outside. I mean, we started a group. Okay, we have a group email that is the Monday Morning Quarterback group that we have agencies from here all the way to HSI, to the FBI, to intelligence people, to people in you know, New York, New Jersey, so forth and so on, that tag in, and we put information out still to this day.
I think I have a picture of you and your team traveling across the state of Texas.
That's
well,
great.
Those guys right there. You have Mike Bradburn there on the far left, you know, with the tie and the coat. Myself there, that was AI generated. David Kohler from the sheriff's office, Travis County, and he's been on the, you know, front edge of this. And then Ed Martin from Cleat, and he's also a captain in Vider PD. And he,
Kohler looks great.
Yeah, he looks just like him.
That looks like.
I know, that was like AI generated. I was just going like, wow, that's pretty good. That's pretty Mike. Yeah, he's going crazy with this AI crap.
Yeah, it shows that you're doing stuff. You know,
yeah,
it's action.
There is a case that started this for us, and you know, we went, and of course, we contacted the DMV. We went and did all this other stuff. But in 2018, an informant came to us in December and told us, hey, I can buy tags. And we were just we had just gotten back. We were looking at stuff. We were just getting started. So we're really new to this. And I'm going like, you can buy paper tags. Okay. So there's a location in Austin called Wilson Street. And they have high-end condos, you know, lifestyles of the rich and shameless. And so we sent an informant in. We had an informant, and we had our undercover went, and they were going to buy a tag for $100. And I'm going like, this is just okay. At first I was just like, yeah. So we have our cameras and everything else. We're waiting, and they roll up there. They get out of the vehicle. The undercover, well, they don't get out of the vehicle yet. The guy opens the door and comes out. Imagine this. Look at this picture. He has the buyer receipt in one hand, and he has the tag in the other, so we can see it on video. And he's skipping, how you doing, to the car. You can see both of them. And of course, the undercover, like, we're supposed to go to the door, but this idiot came out first. You know how it is. Murphy's at work. So they immediately get out of the car, confront him, and, do the money transaction, which is great because now it's not in the car. It's in the open. You can actually see him paying him. And then the minute he pays him, it draws down on him. The guy, pretty much, I think he went ahead and did something in his drawers. And then the rest of the team, myself included, we went to the door, open, and I go in, guys following behind on an entry. And there's a stairwell that goes all the way up because it's a condo. We find one guy sitting right there. We get him, go up, find the second guy. And as I'm coming around the corner, there was a laptop open. Oh, I like that cat. There was a laptop open. And it had the tag that we had just purchased was in the system. I'm looking at the system with the tag that we had just purchased. And there was tags all over the place with little yellow stickies on them.
To who it's going
That's
to?
To
who it's going to? The little stickies?
Yep. And they were going to come and pick them up. And it was just like, I stopped everything because now I have to egress because I was looking for bad guys. I wasn't going to do a search. Got them, came out, ran a search warrant, went back in, and then we collected everything that we got. They were sending money. They were sending money to Venezuela. Okay. And the people in there, one of them was a Venezuelan national. He was on a passport. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I mean, but that opened the door for us. And then after that, Laredo PD put a big bolo out that nobody read in January on the paper tags and the coyotes using the paper tag, Kings Ranch Autoland specifically. And after that, we made a big bust, and that led me to the 5 people. Just an innocuous bust led us to the 5 people that we indicted with the feds. But that's a whole different story that we can talk about because I think we're running out of time.
Well, were those indictments, were those American citizens or were they someplace else?
There were Americans except one, but the rest of them were American citizens. And we believe that some of them were part of a gypsy clan. And, nothing against gypsies, but they were. If you don't know anything about gypsies, I was indoctrinated in there. Once I went into this, I didn't know anything about them. And a lot of them are not a lot of them, but they're involved in organized crime. These clans are just like gangs, especially from Romania, so forth and so on.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's amazing to me that Texas has done this so long and lost so much money. But I feel like, whenever I was a lieutenant on the street and I would have, 2 or 3 people over our minimums, I would try to pull the 2 most, motivated guys and, hey, man, just work 620 and 71 and do traffic interdiction. Just get out there and do traffic interdiction. And that's one of the things I think is so important about the training for law enforcement is all our guys would have to do is go through your class for 6 hours, learn these specific things that you're going to look for, and just go out there and hit your major highways. Because like I said, when I went to your class on my way home, I have a 22-mile drive home. I passed 2 paper tags that would have red flagged, me. Of course, I'm on my way home, so I wasn't going to make the traffic stop.
Under zero circumstances, on the way home.
Wow, look at this, man. So I think it's huge.
Well, the one thing that people forget, again, is the sheer numbers. And the sheer numbers, just so I can go back on some of the numbers, in 1 year alone, back in 2021, the state of Texas issued approximately 5.9 million buyer's tags. That's just 1 year. Wow. And then if you look at the overall numbers, you're going to go ahead and see that dealer authorized agent tag 600,000. You look at dealer vehicle specifics over 1 million. I mean, it's just on and on and on. It's a big deal, and officers don't know the difference between that. And remember, you still have permits. Permits are still going to be there.
Yeah.
And the permit business is crazy.
Well, the thing about, I guess, doing interstate commerce as far as these paper tags ending up in, being sold in New York City and that getting the FBI involved in that sort of criminal activity. So I know you did a lot of stuff with New York City, right? Isn't that a big thing?
Correct.
All of a sudden,
Oh, yeah.
all these Texas paper tags are all over New York.
Yes, and I went ahead and testified. I did several affidavits for the Cook County and also Chicago PD too, that they were arresting people, and they had asked us, because we do assist other agency reports on all this, and we have the cases we can show you, and we assisted them, and we were subject matter experts recognized, and filled out many of affidavits and swore to them and everything else, and got convictions out of that. So they do recognize that. So it was, it's been a journey for me on this, and it's not over with yet, but hopefully sometime, I hope that I'm never going to teach the class again. But as it stands right now, you need to know these old tags, and you need to know the new ones. And unfortunately right now, I think there's going to be a gap there, Mark, and that's going to be the training gap. And we see that all the time. So
my question with these metal tags that we're looking at here, so you get issued a metal tag and it's good for 60 days. What do you do with the metal tag after the 60th day?
That's a great question.
Okay. Yeah.
But it depends. It depends. Like if you're looking at what you're looking at right there, just let me give you a little example. Temporary registration plate, that the red one. That it takes the place of the 30-day permit and the 1 to 15-day permit. Okay, that takes the place of that. You can go to the county tax office and get one. How many can you be issued? I don't know. The county assessor collector is the one that decides. And you can get it and put it on your car. So let's say I do go down there because I have a reason to have that plate, which to me, it's just garbage. But because the original 30-day permit was designed that if I couldn't get your registration on your car, okay, I would tell you to go to the tax office and get a 30-day permit until your registration came in. And somehow it debaucherized and morphed into anybody can go down there and get a 30-day permit. You can go down there right now and get a 30-day permit. Or when the plate comes out, you can go down to show insurance. You show that you have a car and you want a 30-day plate. They'll issue a 30-day hard plate. Now, it's going to have a sticker on it, and it's going to tell you when it expires. But what prevents somebody that sees one of these golden opportunities to get that 30-day plate, take it off of your car, and put it on theirs and go do all kinds of debauchery under the auspices that it's the new plate? See where I'm going with that? It's tough. This is a tough one. But this is what's going to happen to you and me.
Because it seems like it's obviously a lot more expensive to do metal plates.
It is.
And people are going to be, I guess, keeping those plates, or they have to turn them in when they get their regular plate.
No.
Yes.
They have to turn them in. They have to turn them in.
Yeah. It's at the honor system, Mark.
It's a nightmare, dude. So I'm assuming that Texas Motor Vehicles, the Department of Motor Vehicles, went straight to you to say, "Hey, Joe, you're the subject matter expert on this. How do you want us to do it?" I'm sure they did that. Right?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what they did.
Put me on the spot. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, now I'll never be able to register my car in the state of Texas again. But it's one of those things that I'm telling you right now, nobody showed me that. I just saw this a month ago.
Of course.
What you're looking at.
So you're the guy.
A month and a half ago is when I saw what kind of place. I think they put it out in January, February. I think I saw it in March, a couple of months ago. Yeah. But I'm looking at this and I'm going like, did anybody why are we doing it in this fashion? When you bring somebody in, which they did, bring somebody in to look at the law enforcement aspect of it and why we're doing what, because they left it. The bill was really clear. 718, because I went ahead and went in there and debaucherized the bill and took everything out for Goldman. And then we send it out because the initial one was not there. That says you eliminate it. But you leave it to the Texas Department of Motor Vehicle to decide, and of course the Texas Automobile Dealers Association, which their board is composed of, have a lot of those members. No conflict there.
Okay, that makes more sense now.
Okay, so now you have this, but you didn't ask law enforcement to look at this, the experts to look at it. So we want to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 what do you think is going to be the problem if we do 1, 2, 3, 4? Oh, well, blah, 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 blah. You may have that. Why don't we rethink this, put a panel together to look at this?
Well,
I don't know. I don't know. I hope it works. And honestly, I wish and I hope it works. There's not going to be any problems. We're going to go smooth sailing through this. I hope I'm wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll tell you right now, I will apologize. I am not. If I'm wrong, I apologize. Hey, I was wrong. We move on. But this is going to be a problem, I think.
Well, I think it's business as usual. And hopefully they can put something together. Actually, there should be a standardized test put out by, not a test, a standardized lesson plan put out by TCOL that, should be part of the Texas legislative updates or something to assist in, like I said, my big deal is the traffic interdiction. And
did you just use the obscene word of what? Legislative updates?
I did.
And in keeping with pattern and practice, you should not be contacted, Joe. under any circumstances, you should not be contacted.
Okay. I mean, that's good. But legislative updates, and I know when we take that class, can you ask the computer some questions? Because I've tried. And I'm going and I've seen some legislative update on 7, as a matter of fact, House Bill 718, and some of it was wrong. And we had to contact him. Hey, you might want to change this because it has nothing to do with the price of eggs in China. So how many of those do you get? Yeah, I read it. Yeah, I go through the motions of taking the test. I take pictures, screenshots, and that's great. But do you and it's okay. I mean, they did their due diligence. They said, hey, we put out legislative update. That's up to you to go ahead and jump on that horse and do whatever you got to do. And I'm fine with it.
Well, as you said, we are running out of time. You guys,
and we haven't even talked about cases yet.
I know. Y'all have any thing you want to wrap up,
Mark?
I'm good.
You were silent.
Well, let me tell you something. Our next podcast is going to be taser stories. Taser stories between the three of us. And if you haven't heard any of Joe Escorbano taser stories, you haven't lived. So on behalf of the Three Gorillas podcast, it has been my honor, gentlemen.
Mark has something.
Much.
No, nothing. Just
nothing. All right. Hey, this was good. This was good.
We will see you around the corner. The Three Gorillas podcast is a zombie advocacy production.